Once the heron to set his path, twice the heron to name him true. As I thought it would be important to go over something that we know from the books, but some people may have noticed this little Easter egg, or should I say, heron egg that we saw in episode 1. We saw again, if you look incredibly closely, in episode 6 here, but perhaps we're going to be seeing it again in episode 7 or 8, and that is the mark of the heron, or the heron marked blade.
Yeah, man, this is a really cool, significant part to not only just the world and blade masters and identifying swords, but even the prophecies of the dragon, right? I mean, that you just read it to us right there. Twice shall he be marked. Okay. And so the marking of the heron is a big deal. And we've seen it. We saw it in the first episode when Tam pulled out his sword. It was a heron marked blade. I believe the box even had some symbol on the top, might even have been a heron, but pulls it out. And what is he doing with that sword? How did he get a heron marked sword? In the book, in particular, in the Eye of the World, it's mentioned that it's not even just the marking on the blade being heron, that it's also the blade itself was made with the power, my friend. It was made with the one power, which makes it kind of like indestructible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be something big going forward. And it's kind of interesting what is the significance of these swords? How do you get one? And what is the deal going forward? So, anybody who has a heron marked blade, although you don't necessarily have to have a heron marked blade in order to become what is known as a blade master. And we will get to that a little bit. So, the blade masters are essentially the best swordsmen in the land. Okay,
Mm.
you are among the absolute elite of the elite. Okay, and there's only even a handful of known blade masters that we see in the entire book series. Um, Most of them that are known, I think there's really only there's one female we'll meet at some point who is a blade master, but the rest are men. But a female could easily become one. It just happens to be sort of the case in the in the book series. And a blade master may decorate their sword with the heron mark, although it is not demanded of them. Only men who have complete mastery of the sword are given the privilege of carrying a heron marked sword. Heron marked swords may contain the heron on the blade, the hilt, or both. How does someone become one of these blade masters? Okay, there's typically two ways. One of which is by defeating another blade master,
Let's go. Yeah.
or you can be judged by a group of 5 blade masters by your skill. Okay, and in order to sort of do that, you're gonna have to go find 5 other blade masters, which there aren't that many, and have them judge you on their skill.
Right, which is pretty cool. So we're going to see it that at some point. The question you're probably wondering right now is like, have we seen a blade master? Have we seen any individuals in the series yet who are? So we'll go back to Tam real quick, and this is spoilers. This is kind of an explained video for you, but Tam was actually former second captain of the Companions of Ilion, and so he's listed as current age known blade master. He has that sword. Lan Mandragoran is also listed as a individual who is a blade master. Now, here's an interesting one for you. Lord Captain Commander Eamon Valda is also listed as a blade master. So, um, you know, kind of interesting. There might be more. I didn't go through the whole list there, but it's cool to see these individuals and to see we have individuals right in front of us who are going to possibly become blade masters, and they're either going to kill a blade master, or they're going to be tried and will be granted that rank. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
where, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a handful of sword forms, and you have to be able to use all of them essentially in order to become a blade master. Now, your blade itself can actually be any blade you want.
Mhm.
It can be, typically it seems to be more sort of katanas type that we end up seeing, and that seems to be the ones that are favored amongst blade masters. So a little bit of history here. During the Age of Legends, when Aes Sedai forged weapons with the power, some of them were swords, power wrought swords. Okay, this is what you said a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
and this gave their users an advantage in battle. They are not damaged by ordinary weapons. They never rust. They never need sharpening. When Aes Sedai started taking oaths and vowed never to create weapons, these power wrought swords became rarer and rarer. Over time, power wrought swords ended in the hands of the elite swordsmen, noblemen, and kings. The swords carried by the king of Malkair, okay,
Mhm.
which is a descendant, right? Currently happens to be
Mhm.
somebody traveling in our group one, Lan Mandragoran, and the king of Kyrian, right? Were power wrought. These unbreakable, master crafted blades, forged by a lost art in the hands of dangerous men who have mastered the sword, came to attain a powerful aura of mystique and prestige. Some of the surviving power wrought swords were made with the Heron mark. Since ordinary circumstances cannot damage a power wrought sword, a blacksmith would be unable to engrave a Heron mark blade after they were produced by the Aes Sedai. Thus, Heron mark power wrought swords became even more highly prized amongst blade masters.
Yeah, because it had to be set in the blade right prior to it, like at its making. You couldn't etch it in later because you can't do that. You can't destroy or alter those blades. So which means that if it had a heron mark in it and it was power wrought, it was old, friends, like super old. And those swords typically end up in the hands of blade masters. And as Matt said, there are so many cool forms, all this stuff, a few of them that you can kind of learn and master. The list is, I think there's like 50 to 80
Oh,
on here.
I mean, yes, just some of these here. I've got the list pulled up. You can go ahead if
Well,
you've
I'll
got
just
it pulled up too.
I'll give you five here, and you give me five. So you've got cat crosses the courtyard, lightning of three prongs, lion on the hill, striking the spark, and then apple blossoms in the wind.
Yeah, some other cool ones here. Arc of the Moon, the Kingfisher takes a silverback, River of Light, striking the spark, the Swallow takes flight, threading the needle, which is one we do see. And you'll see, and we obviously they're in the book, so they end up coming important. Now, what is the one spoiler here that Rand ends up using where you have to injure yourself in order to do it?
Oh yeah, that gosh, you asked me too quick. It's the one where basically he takes the strike, right? He allows himself to be struck, and thus by taking a strike in his chest, it gets him close enough to land his Heron Mark blade into Balsamon. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but yeah, that was a really cool move by Rand.
Yeah,
Sheathing
exactly.
the blade, I think, or sheathing the
Sheathing the blade. Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. So it's going to be cool to certainly see some of these, moon on the water, oaks shakes its branches. Yeah, just certainly some more of these forms, which are known forms. And it's super cool. Pebbles on the snow, cutting the clouds, dandelion in the wind, soft rain at sunset. And you get and some of these appear even in the graphic novel, which is super, super cool. So just some known blade masters here that show up in the books. We have really only met how many? I think we've only met 3 blade masters in the show thus far.
Yeah,
One
I
of which
think
who's
so.
not a blade master yet, but
Right.
one who will become one. And then one who of the 3, again, this is total spoilers. But again, my guess is you're probably going to be coming back to this after season 1 is over, perhaps. So the first is obviously Tam Thor. He has one,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
I think when we're recording this right now, which is the 12th of December, I think we're going to get this sort of history lesson in the next 2 episodes of a flashback of Tam with the Aiel,
Yeah.
and we'll get to see Tam Thor boss level,
Yeah.
to say the least. Now the other should be pretty easy because he now possesses the sword he got from his father. Randall Thor is
Right.
going to become a blade master. And then the other is one himself who's, I mean, obviously he's an amazing swordsman. He's also a warder, and that's Lan Mandragoran, who we kind of said a little bit there. But Lan is also a blade master.
Yeah, and it's cool because he'll end up training Rand, take him through some of those forms, teaches him when that there's a time when to sheathe your sword, and that's sort of the idea that he will use later on with Balsamon, as Matt brought up. But really cool. There's one more I want to bring up, I guess, a historical figure, and this was in the X-ray edition on, I think it was either episode 2 or 3, and it was Jayrum, who was this reputed sword blade master. He was, I guess, one of the best that ever lived, and he was actually also a Gaidin. He was one of the warders. It is said in history, it is said that he fought over 10,000 times in battle and single combat during his lifetime. He only lost once to a farmer with a quarterstaff. And it's just like a really good lesson that they teach the Gaidin as they're training in the tower. Those are your like they're the younglings actually in the books, and they will become like Gawain is a part of that. Galad for a time is a part of that, and they are training to become uh, warders. And the Aes Sedai will choose from them, and they learn the forms. They are studying to kind of almost become, maybe not all of them are going to be blade masters, right? It's a really prestigious thing to get to, but they're training in those forms, trying to gain that level of expertise, and they learn about this individual. But the lesson here is that he once lost to a farmer with a quarterstaff. So it's kind of cool. We'll see something maybe. I'm not sure if they're going to do this yet or not. People really want to see Matt Cawthon basically use his quarterstaff to beat Galad and Gawain as he does in the books, and it might happen. I mean, not this season, obviously, but maybe next season.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just thought it'd be cool to kind of go over really quick here, just what is the significance sort of that heron? If you caught it in episode 1, and then I think we're likely to see and get some information on it here shortly as well. So certainly stay tuned for that. Anyway, I want to thank you guys as always for watching or listening, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.